Okay, as you can see, I brought James in. The topic of the article today is about understanding body awareness. And one of the things I've been doing in class with my advanced students is helping them to understand the process I use sort of implicitly for a long time. I developed this little drill to make this process more explicit. So James is with me, as I said. He's gonna face the camera, right? He's gonna make a passive stance. His feet are gonna be about as wide as his shoulders. He's gonna stand up straight. I'm gonna ask him to start breathing, nostril breathing, so he'll close his mouth. He'll put his tongue at the top of the roof of his mouth, and he'll just begin nostril breathing very calmly, very slowly. So I wanted to get him in sort of like a regulated state, because he's gonna concentrate. So I'm gonna assume, for the purposes of the time of the video, that he's there. And I'm gonna ask him to hold his palms to the ceiling with his elbows bent, right? And I'm gonna ask him to begin to take his attention to his hands, specifically. I will say things like, take your attention to your hands. Notice what the air feels like around your hands. Notice what your joints feel like. Some of you may feel a pulse, your pulse in your hands. Some of you may feel oil or your hands a little sweaty, depending on when you're training. The idea is to get him to identify with and to take his attention to, in great detail, what his hands are doing. After I've given them a second to do that, what I ask him to do is to take on one more task. The task is to, while the attention is being drawn to the hands, to also allow your attention to simultaneously go to the bottom of your feet where you're connected to the floor. Notice what it feels like. Notice where your balance points are. And begin to notice what the floor feels like below your feet. I'll give them several other prompts that help them to connect their awareness and attention simultaneously with their hands and their feet. And when I used to do this sort of implicitly, it would almost feel like my hands and feet would grow, or that they would shine, or that you may feel that your hands and feet are more powerful. You might want to grab something. Everyone's going to have a different reaction, but the attention you're drawing to your hands and feet is going to be very powerful for you, right? Now, the reason we're doing this is your hands have a lot to do with the defenses you make during self-defense techniques, right? And your feet obviously create the connection to the ground, which is power, and also allow you to move and do the things you need to do with your body as you make self-defense. The last piece of this is the elbow. The elbow is a powerful piece of self-defense. We'll talk about that more later in the weeks to come. But now I have him taking his attention to his hands and taking attention to his feet simultaneously. And I'm going to ask him to have an awareness of where his elbows are. So attention at the hands, attention at the feet, and awareness of where the elbow is. I'm going to ask him to do that for a number of minutes. And then when he feels like he has a keen awareness and an attention and a connection to where the hands and feet are, and a keen awareness of where the elbow is in relation to his hand and his body. So is it at my side? Is it out in front? Where is it in relation to my hand? What's the angle? Those types of things. When he gets there, I'm going to ask him to drop his hands and take a few breaths, right? So let's assume, was that good? Okay. Then I'm going to immediately ask the whole class, fighting stance, right? So he'll go forward in the fighting stance. And I'm going to ask the class, do you still feel the attention and the awareness in hands and feet? And do you know where your elbows are? And I want them to hold this sort of intention and awareness while they're punching and while they're doing self-defense. That's good. How'd it feel?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So try this with your class. If you're an instructor, if you're not an instructor, try this before you warm up during class, and really get a sense for where your hands are, where your feet are, and what your elbows are doing. It'll make a big difference in your Krav Maga.